Was a sex education course offered to you in high school? If it was, how much of that information is useful to you now? Public schools in the United States lack sex education courses that offer more than just abstinence-only programs. According to Natalie Blanton, only 38 of America's 50 states have sex education laws, and 30 of those curricula promote the ideal of abstinence until marriage. I will be proving why sex education is important and goes beyond simply condom application and abstinence. This is important to you all because you all consist of college-age students where sex is very prevalent and you should all be well informed. Young adults should also be well informed much before they even enter college. This is important to me because I was not provided proper sex education in high school, and this caused me to go through experiences where I found myself unprepared, nervous, and scared. Throughout my speech, I will be proving that there is a problem with lack of sex education in public schools. I will provide a possible solution to the problem of lack of sex education. I will prove that the solution will work, and I will prove to you all that there is a way to help put the solution in place. Now that I have told you why this topic is important to me, I will start by proving the problem with lack of sex education courses offered in public schools. Sex education courses lack detailed and comprehensive discussion of sexual health, sexual orientation, and gender identity, with many more prevalent topics surrounding the issue at hand. Due to the lack of sex education courses offered in public schools across the United States, nearly 750,000 teenagers in the United States will become pregnant this year, and half of the 20 million new cases of sexually transmitted diseases will be diagnosed in young people aged 15 to 24, according to Natalie Blanton. According to the Department of Nursing at the University of Southern California, research published by the Public Library of Science shows that when sex education is comprehensive, students feel more informed, make safer choices, and have healthier outcomes, resulting in fewer unplanned pregnancies and more protection against sexually transmitted diseases and infection. As an example, we'll use Illinois state sex education policies and requirements. According to Sex Ed for Social Change, Illinois schools are not required to teach sex education. However, they are required to provide instruction on human ecology and health, human growth and development, and the psychological, physiological, hygienic, and social responsibilities of family life, including the discussion of abstinence and age prevention. As for the actual curriculum, it is not required to be comprehensive. It must have an emphasis on abstinence until marriage with substantial emphasis on contraception. It is not required to include instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity, but it must instruct honor and respect for heterosexual monogamous marriages. The curriculum must also include instruction on consent and be medically accurate. There is also an opt-out policy where parents or guardians are able to remove their child from any and all sex education courses, family life programs, and/or STD or HIV prevention programs. The lack of sex education courses offered to high school students is detrimental to not only their sexual health, but their health as a whole. Between the mid-1990s and early 2000s, the George W. Bush and Bill Clinton administrations collectively funded a generous amount to abstinence-only curriculum. During Obama's term, his administration was the first to move away from these ideals. Obama's administration moved toward more comprehensive programs and away from abstinence before marriage curriculum, which was under the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Initiative. However, under Trump's administration, that curriculum was quickly reversed after $75 million was funded to abstinence-only programs. According to Elizabeth J. Meyer, initially the Trump administration attempted to cut $200 million from the Obama administration's teen pregnancy prevention programs, causing funding to end in June of 2018 instead of the original end date of June 2020. However, the 81 organizations affected by this move sued the Trump administration, and the courts ruled the funding cuts illegal, ensuring the funding until 2020. According to Rebecca Ruse, Trump's 2018 budget proposed eliminating the teen pregnancy prevention program altogether. And among his opponents to the Department of Health and Human Services was Valerie Hoover, formerly the president of an organization once called the National Abstinence Education Association. Now named Ascend, the group urges youth to avoid all sexual activity, hopefully until they marry. Elizabeth J. Meyer goes on to state, in 2017, Huber wrote in The Hill that the Obama administration's support of comprehensive sex education normalized teen sex. The problem with this is that teen sex is normal, and whether teenagers have the proper education surrounding it or not, they will engage in it. They should be engaging in safe sex, not uneducated and uninformed sexual activity. Considering the instruction at school is severely lacking regarding sex education, underfunded organizations such as Planned Parenthood and Advocates for Youth are providing comprehensive sex education programs for teenagers. According to Scholars Strategy Network, in light of this, a 2014 poll found that 94% of parents support sex education in middle school, while 96% of parents support sex education in high school. This suggests that by adding more comprehensive sex education courses, there would really be no problem with parents not accepting it. The opt-out policy would still remain. Having an opt-out policy is important, however, research shows that it would not be used too often. According to Planned Parenthood, the vast majority of parents support sex education in middle school and high school that covers a wide range of topics, including STDs, puberty, healthy relationships, contraception, and sexual orientation. Other national, state, and local polls have also shown high levels of support in regards to sex education. Considering sex education is highly supported nationally at the state level and locally, there is no reason why it should not be more comprehensive. Now that I have presented the problems regarding sex education in the United States, I am now going to state my plan. My plan in order to improve the quality of sex education courses in the United States is to mandate comprehensive and useful information regarding sex education through a new bill passed through the government. My plan will also eliminate the emphasis on abstinence until marriage, and this bill will apply to all 50 states. My plan will most likely solve the problem of the lack of comprehensive sex education because of the evidence presented regarding statistics of parents that are for more comprehensive sex education courses in middle and high school, that being 94% of middle school parents and 96% of high school parents. My plan is workable and practical as 39 states already mandate sex education and HIV education, which is over half. According to the Guttmacher Institute, 30 states and DC mandate that when provided, sex education and HIV education programs meet certain general requirements. Many may argue that sex education is not necessary for middle school and or high school students. However, Chitra Panjabi states, according to data gathered by the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention, or the CDC, less than 40% of high schools and fewer than 1 in 6 middle schools in this country teach all 19 sexual health education topics that the CDC has determined are critical to young people's sexual health. Now that I have proposed to you my plan and solution, I will show the results that may be expected if my plan is adopted. If this solution is adopted, the United States may see a significant decrease in teen pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases, as both are heavily prevalent due to the lack of education among teens regarding their sex education. According to the CDC, 38% of high school students in 2019 had ever engaged in sexual intercourse. 27% had had sexual intercourse during the previous 3 months, and of those individuals, 46% did not use a condom and 12% did not use any method to prevent pregnancy. With the proper sex education, individuals would know the correct methods. The abstinence before marriage concept is an outdated and old one, as teens are engaging in sexual intercourse. There is no way to stop them. The only way to help them is by educating them on staying safe. The CDC also states that less than 10% of all students had ever been tested for HIV, and less than 10% have also been tested for STDs within the past year. Teenagers may not know where to get tested, how, or when they are able to do so. They may also be very afraid. The more these topics are discussed among the youth, the safer and less afraid they will be. Teenagers are also just coming into their sexuality. Many are confused and scared. Knowing more about sexual orientation and gender identity can greatly benefit them. For example, individuals who are intersex are 1 in 2,000, which is more than those with cystic fibrosis, a condition many of us have heard of. If you are unfamiliar with what intersex is, the Intersex Society of North America states, intersex Intersex is a general term used for a variety of conditions in which a person is born with a reproductive or sexual anatomy that doesn't seem fit to the typical definitions of female or male. Now, how many of you actually knew what intersex was? After stating possible results of my plan, I will now ask you to take action. In order for my solution to be adopted, it must be supported. One very important way to support new laws and policies is by voting. According to the New York Times, voting is a complementary activity with a similar goal, translating frustrations into political change, said Cliff Albright, the co-founder of the Black Voters Matter Fund, which works to boost voter turnout. Another way to take action is by peacefully protesting. The New York Times also states, in general, to protest effectively, especially if you're part of organizing a march, familiarize yourself with guidelines on what's involved. Now that I've explained why it is important to take action for my solution, let's take a look at everything I have presented to you. I've proven the lack of comprehensive sex education exists. I've defined a possible solution to the lack of sex education among schools in the United States. I have presented possible solutions that may be seen if my plan were to be adopted. And I have defined a way to help take action for my plan. Sexuality is a fundamental and necessary to our well-beings as humans. Denying anyone that right of making informed and knowledgeable decisions about their bodies is violating their human rights. Thank you.